On the right, we have the person I'm rooting for. Sorry, Kyle.
So Timothy Jansen on the right hand of your screen, Kyle Zimmerman on the left of your screen. So it looks like Timothy has laid a land, so I'm guessing he won the die roll. Timothy opens with a Drowned Catacombs. I always want to call that Darkwater Catacombs because that was the name of the Odyssey land that was much worse. Timothy Jansen plays a Mountain in second turn. No removal spell for the Delver right away, at least.
That's very dangerous.
Though he could be waiting to see if the Delver actually flips before he wants to actually burn a removal spell
right.
on it. A lot of times when your opponent plays a turn 1 Delver, if you have, say, a Doomblade, you can let it flip and then just kill it, get the information about what the card they drew was.
And to be fair, there's 3 Doomblades in Timothy Jansen's list, and
3 Galvanic
Blasts. So he has a fair amount of ways to kill it after the flip, as well as a 1 go for the throat. So he's got a lot of options there.
Right now it's just a 1/1, and it's staying 1 for the moment. Kyle Zimmerman draws what's probably the most important card in the Blue-Red Delver deck, Sulphur Falls, and but gets in for 1. And is Timothy casting? Yeah, he's casting a Forbidden Alchemy, which is going to resolve.
I think that's totally reasonable. He has not stumbled on land. You only have so many counter magics that you can run with the Delver style decks, so you can't necessarily throw them away just for a card selection.
That can be putting yourself in a pretty bad spot if you're spewing your counter magic on card draw when you need to protect your creatures that are getting their beat down on.
Untap for Kyle. He looks and shows. What is he showing? Incinerate.
An Ice Age Incinerate.
That is an old one. That's one of my favorites. I like that Incinerate.
Yeah, that art is awesome.
I like Mirage Incinerate a little bit better.
Okay.
In comes a 3/2, and Timothy just says, okay, I'll take it. That brings him down now, I believe, to 16. Is that correct?
So yeah, Timothy Jansen really needs the early removal to deal with the creatures that Kyle Zimmerman is playing here, and
think twice from the yard.
So far, we've just seen him play. We've just seen him play card drawing. This isn't really the start that Timothy needs in order to keep up with the Delver deck.
Okay, 15 to 20 right now. He goes Chandra, and that's just going to walk right into a counterspell.
Yeah, and I mean, even if it resolved, it's actually not that powerful. The Delver is a 3/2, and yeah, it clearly gets mana leaked.
And then I think we're going to see a Desperate Ravings, perhaps, from Kyle. That's the way it felt like to me. Yep, he's like, yep, there it is.
No, it's an Incinerate to the face.
Let's shorten this clock.
No time. So it looks like Kyle's hand is a Snapcaster. He just drew a Gut Shot, it looks like.
I think I see a Chandra's Phoenix.
Yeah, that's a Chandra's Phoenix. I think... I may have saved that Incinerate to in case that Phoenix died, but... So Phoenix comes down, and 5 damage. Timothy down to 7 life. Maybe there's no reason to save it if it's just going to die. And we did see Black Sun Zenith.
Black Sun Zenith would be pretty nice right now.
And I believe that's what he's going to cast.
Black Suns for 2.
And, yep, I can't imagine him casting anything else.
I can imagine it. I just think it results in a loss.
I can't imagine it being correct for him to cast anything else.
Okay, so it's not a failure of imagination.
Yeah, so, and I'm guessing that, Kyle probably has a Fistful of Burn here. If this is his line of play he's taking.
Kyle untaps.
Draws a land. So we did see, I think, he drew a Gut Shot.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has a Gut Shot.
So Gut Shot at bare minimum represents that Phoenix coming back for 2 more damage. And the 1 more damage from the Gut Shot, so that would put Timothy down to 4 life. Though, yep, there's the Gut Shot. Face. Timothy down to use 6 life. And then the Phoenix comes right back.
2 dangerous mana left open.
And that definitely represents mana leak. Though it's not clear that he has it. If Timothy has the Land Vengeance here, he could be right back in it. So
land number 7.
And it looks like he has Olivia, which does at bare minimum block that.
It is a body.
So Olivia comes down, and
does it run into a psychic barrier? There are psychic barriers in Kyle's deck.
It looks like it resolved. I imagine.
Does it resolve? Ooh.
I mean, Timothy is at 4 life. That's a very precarious situation.
And does it look like Kyle has a fair mitt of cards, or is he down to 1?
No, I believe he's down to 2 cards. I know he has the Snapcaster in his hand.
Untap.
So
Island. He does. Wow. It looks like 3 cards in hand.
Maybe 3.
He's thinking about attacking.
He's gonna attack. I would snap block. There's a 2/2 flyer into my 3/3 flyer, but 4 life. I don't think there's another play other than block.
4 life is very few.
It is not many. But Olivia is a creature that can dominate the game from any position, really. So
We see a Snapcaster here.
Snapcaster. Is he going to Snapcaster on that Incinerate? What is he in Snapcastering? Incinerate and doing...
3 to the face?
Yeah.
2 to the face. That's the right way to go with that.
He's got to go to the dome.
Let's see
So
what happens
Timothy
there.
will...
looks like a counterspell.
It's a Mana Leak, which will get... Mana
Mana
Leak's
Leaked.
right back, so he must have...
And the gut shot!
All right. Wow. He had exactly the cards
Exactsies.
he needed to exactly kill Timothy Jansen.
Okay, for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to the Star City Games Live Open Series here in St. Louis. I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Brian Kibler. While the players sideboard, we have a trivia question for everyone out there in the Twitterverse. In order to get the amazing prize, I believe we have a 3-month giveaway.
Yeah, 3
of
months of
3 months of
StarCityGames.com
premium. Now, you can read, I'll be writing again at some point, I'm just not writing right now. Brian Kibler, though, is writing week in, week out, grinding up the words that you should be consuming.
There are lots of great players you can read. Patrick Chapin,
Right.
Jerry Thompson, all sorts of great content there. I wouldn't go without it.
I mean, I have been reading it for years. And
yeah, absolutely.
even when they were our competitors way back in the day, I was reading them.
Yep.
So, SCG, the hashtag SCG Premium, that is where you're going to want to put your answer to this trivia question.
On Twitter.
That is 3 months of free premium to the one random person who selects the appropriate answer to this question. Earlier in the day, and you can find this in the print coverage if you want to look it up, we saw a match between Ben Weinberg and another player, Jacob Bau, and they were both playing Wolf Run Ramp decks. Jacob Bau's deck, however, splashed black.
A little bit of spice.
A little bit of spice. What spicy meatball did Jacob Bau put in his version
His main
of
deck.
his main deck of his Wolf Run Ramp?
What was his black splash?
What was his black splash? And what you want to do is you want to put that answer to hashtag SCG Premium. One lucky person out there that gets the right answer will get 3 months of free premium.
Go to it.
Now, meanwhile, let's look at the
Let's take a look here.
the spicy meatballs that we're going to see from Timothy
So,
and Kyle.
I actually thought that Timothy's deck would match up better against Blue Red Delver than we saw in that game.
Well, I mean, one of the things he did
got-
not draw
got pretty
any point
unfortunate,
removal.
I think, in terms of not really drawing any of his cheap removal. He
He's
has
got
3
7
Galvanic
cheap
Blasts,
removal.
3 Galvanic Blasts, 3 Doom Blades, and a Go for the Throat in his main deck.
Yeah, that's 7
After
removal.
sideboarding, see, this is a card I love.
Soren's Thirst.
This is a card that you definitely
Okay.
want against red decks.
Well, one of the things that's exciting, right, is he has 7 cheap removal, and he's adding in 3
1,
more
2,
cheap
3.
removal. So he's got 10 cheap removal that he's going to have in against his opponent.
He also has Negate if he wants it to fight
Right.
the counterspell fight.
And I actually think it's possible he could bring in Mimic Vat to fight Chandra's Phoenix.
That's not unreasonable either. That's definitely a good point. Or, which I'm not a huge fan of Surgical Extraction.
I'm not so excited about that. It's actually sometimes, if you draw it at the wrong time, it's like a threat
be
theory,
real bad.
answer
Yep.
theory thing, and you're like, I have this surgical extraction, and you don't have anything I care about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other side of the table, Kyle Zimmerman, let's see, what does he have that's exciting here?
He has Mental Misstep. I don't think he's going to bring that in. It only protects really from Galvanic Blast.
I like Negate.
He has Negate for sure. Negate certainly comes in. Molten Steel Dragon is an interesting card in his sideboard.
Now,
Molten Steel Dragon is a card that I am a big fan of.
I love it. Great card.
Against the Wolf Run decks. It's an incredibly powerful card against a lot of the control decks, particularly the control decks that don't have removal that can effectively answer.
Right. Now,
That
one-
said, Timothy does have Doom.
Now, one thing to remember, both of these players have been given access to each other's lists.
Right.
They have full knowledge of what is possible from their opponent. So, if I were him, I would not bring in the Molten Steel Dragon, because there are just a lot of cards that I actually see as being problematic. There are Doom Blades,
Yep. I mean,
times
counter
3,
magic, you'd really
Geth's
much
Verdict, counter magic.
You really much prefer to have your threats in this kind of matchup be cheap threats
Yes.
that you can get on the board, like a Delver of Secrets, like a Grim Lavamancer, like a Chandra's Phoenix. Chandra's Phoenix is actually sort of the top of where you want to be.
Yeah.
And you can protect them with counters magic.
I think what you actually end up seeing him sideboard in is the one Negate definitely comes in. Spellskite is maybe, I don't think it's a necessarily definitely.
It's interesting. Spellskite, when your opponent has a bunch of removal like Soren's Thirst and Galvanic Blast, things that don't necessarily kill your Spellskite, that's super good.
Right.
That said, there are only 4 copies of the damage-based removal spells
I agree.
in Timothy Jansen's deck.
I think it might not be unreasonable for Bonehorde to come in, because first of all, it's a body. that can
That's
be...
actually a Bone Horde.
Yeah, that
I
can be...
I just looked at that and saw Batter Skull. That was sort of where my brain immediately went,
Right.
Bone Horde is very interesting.
I mean, he can bring it down, it can come down and be a reasonable-sized body, and then let's pretend that it gets removed, then it makes every other little thing be
That's
a reasonable
very
body.
interesting.
Druidic Satchel is a card that I am not... I'm not going to count out as being a possible player in this matchup.
Yeah,
I mean, the game goes long. He's not actually necessarily going to run out of gas.
Right, yeah. Satchel's the sort of card that if it is able to resolve, Timothy can't really remove it from play. It's an artifact. His deck is good at killing creatures, not good at killing artifacts. And the Druidic Satchel can just generate a continuous advantage over the course of the entire game, giving him extra lands, giving him Saprolings. Life, not necessarily so relevant, but if he does try to go for the full 20 to the face,
right,
it could come up. So,
do you think that you sideboard out your Psychic Barriers in this matchup? He does have 2 Olivia, which are dangerous, and 4 Snapcasters.
I think Psychic Barrier is actually still good here. Largely due to Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster is a card that can come up in a lot of different situations, and having a 2-mana answer to your opponent's effectively removal spell, it represents a lot of different things. Removal spell, card draw, etc. So I would keep it.
My first out would be the 3 Gimlava Answers.
I think Gutshot's the first to go.
Really? I like Gutshot because of the ability to make Chandra's Phoenix come back.
Yeah, but it's just such a low impact card. Grimlava Answer is not a card that I'm happy with here, but it at least can do a reasonable amount of damage, whereas Gutshot, at least the full 4 Gutshot.
I don't think you want 4 Gutshot.
I could consider keeping a couple of Gutshots in, but you definitely need to shave those numbers before anything else.
So let's pretend, right? We're going to bring in, let's say, 1 Negate, 1 Bone Horde. We got 2 cards, and then we're going to bring in,
Flash Freeze, maybe?
I don't know if you bring in Flash Freeze.
I could see bringing in 1 Flash Freeze.
So few targets.
There really aren't that many things. There's
2
Olivia,
Chandra's
Chandra the Firebrand. Not really any in the sideboard. Yeah, I probably wouldn't bring in the Flash Freeze.
And the Spell Skite I could see as a potential card. So, I mean, you're talking about 2 to 4 cards that are maybe coming in, right? And, perhaps we'll be surprised and we'll see Molten Steel Dragon come in anyway. Just as, it's a big, beefy body.
If you look at what's going on here, Kyle doesn't have that many cards that are really particularly good in his sideboard to bring in, and he does have a number of cards I think are pretty weak. Grim Lavamancer, I'll grant you, a weak card in this matchup. It's definitely a card I don't want in my deck, but I do think it's better than the first few Gutshots.
I agree.
I would probably cut 1 or 2 Lavamancers and 1 or 2 Gutshots. That leaves me with Negate coming in, it leaves me with Bone Horde coming in, and then you're probably getting to the point you're bringing in Molten Steel Dragon.
I think that's absolutely fair. Because, I mean, what you're basically doing is you're just kind of... Yes, it's not a great card specific for this matchup.
But it's better
than what we got.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things to remember is that you want to make sure that you're optimizing your deck and not being like, oh, this is a perfect card for this matchup.
Right.
It just might be better. But not falling too far down that trap that you cease to be the deck that you are.
Right.
I mean...
I think that a lot of people, when they think about sideboarding, they're very rigid, and that's one thing when a lot of people look at articles about decks. They're like, "Oh, what are your sideboarding plans?" It's like, well, it really depends. It's very important to be able to react to the sort of decks that your opponent's playing.
Absolutely.
If you say this is how I sideboard against green-white, it's like, well, is that the way you sideboard against green-white that has Blade Splicers and Mirroring Crusaders, or the way you sideboard against green-white that has a bunch of token generators? Because those are very different decks.
And even going beyond that, there was something that Brian Cole said once that I really, really appreciated. And actually, Brian Cole says stuff all the time that I appreciate,
Sure.
and not just about Magic. But one of the things he said that I thought was really great was he actually thinks that sideboard guides are foolish. And what you should do is you shouldn't sideboard against decks. You should sideboard against players. And what he means by that is you watch somebody play, right? And sometimes a player plays in a certain way, and what you need to do is be like, I see that they're a passive player with this deck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sideboard in this way because it plays into how your opponent is playing.
Absolutely. I mean, and especially when you have information, like say, this is another reason why I think, by the way, that it's very valuable to have access to a site like Star City Games Premium and have the information that's out there about how other people are saying you should be sideboarding.
Absolutely.
Because if there are whatever plans that are sort of taken as gospel, you need to be ready for them.
And we have a land followed by land from Kyle Zimmerman and a Delver of Secrets on turn 1.
This deck is also much better when you play Delver in turn 1 every game.
Oh my god. I mean, I'm sort of reminded of a goblin. Oh, nice.
Soren is hungry.
I'm sort of reminded of the coverage of Japanese Nationals. I forget what year and with who, but where it was turn 1 Goblin Guide every game.
I believe that was Katsuhiro Mori.
Oh, interesting.
I could say any number of things. But anyway, so... And another Delver.
Thank you for following in with me on that.
Another Delver follows up. So Timothy with many, many Dark Slick Shores. It is apparently quite slick where he comes from. And
oh man!
Hey, look what I got! I got a Mana Leak waiting.
Oh, Doomblade. That Mana Leak is not in the hand yet.
Dead. Right, well, he gets the information. That I think was actually a little bit dangerous. Well, it does. When his opponent already has access to Mana Leak mana unless he has a follow-up removal spell. I think he really needs to take that out before he can Mana Leak.
And he says go. Timothy Jansen draws, says go. And now it's draw go time. We've got a Forbidden Alchemy at the end of the turn. Kyle is probably going to let that resolve.
This is the stage of the game that definitely begins to favor Timothy. We saw last game Kyle was able to get a Delver on the board, get a Phoenix on the board, and really put pressure on Timothy. This game, Timothy's the one who's very much in control, able to take out the first 2 Delvers and leave the blue-red deck with very little action. So as we were talking about before, the blue-red deck is in a very awkward spot because it's a deck that really, really wants to have the early pressure from a Delver or from a Lavamancer, not really too much pressure, a Phoenix, a better start. But so much of its deck is made up of reactive cards and removal spells.
And we have land go. Timothy Jansen, 5 mana to the 4 mana, no threats from Kyle. And your statements are exactly 100% correct. It's just one of those things that once you get to the stage where your opponent isn't in any danger and you're the beatdown deck, rough times.
Satchel.
Satchel is actually a real threat.
Yeah, I would counter it.
Yeah, there we go.
For sure.
And Michael J. Flores smiling and frowning at home, probably. Smiling for seeing the card played and frowning for seeing it in the yard.
So, Timothy...
6th land for Timothy, says go.
I mean, imagine if he played a Chandra right there. This is actually, when I was working on various
Draw go, go ahead.
When I was working on various control decks with Chandra in them, this is the exact sort of matchup where I really wanted Chandra because it just represents a ticking threat that your opponent has to deal with that can kill so many of their creatures.
Fishy Ponder.
Ooh.
Fishy Ponder is not 3-moon Ponder.
That's incorrect.
Oh,
I disagree with that play. He should have played the other Ponder.
That's true. And
it looks like there's a number of lands on top of his deck, so I'm guessing he's probably going to shuffle.
One of the things that I think a lot of people that like aggressive decks, they often play the Fishy Ponder because it makes them think fish. But it's actually a mistake because it's not as cool, and when you draw it, you're not calmed by the card.
The moons. They are so soothing.
And we get the shuffle here. Kyle hoping... I think he wants to draw a Chandra's Phoenix right now.
Yeah, Chandra's Phoenix is one of the very powerful cards in Blue-Red Delver that gives it a lot of game against control decks. It gives you multi-purpose for your burn spells. They don't just go to the face. They are rebuys on your
I mean, alternately, if he could drop a Satchel, that would be good too. And look at this. What are we going to have?
Flashback.
End of the turn, flashback. We've gotten to the point of the game where Timothy Jansen is drawing out counter spells.
Yep, Kyle is...
Oh, boy.
I'm not sure if I were in his position, if I would counter that.
I wouldn't counter it, but I wouldn't feel good letting it resolve either.
Right. Right now, Timothy doesn't have anything that's actually putting Kyle under any pressure. And if Timothy's able to just continue to assemble, more and more cards in hand, he could be in some serious trouble.
Kyle says go. Timothy draws a Chandra the Firebrand. Says go. Kyle draws. Says go.
Yeah.
You don't want to be draw go when you're the beatdown deck.
This is what Timothy wants to be doing. Just draw go, draw go, draw go. And Timothy's at 8 cards in hand. And let's see how he handles this. Oh, is it 7 cards? It's 7 cards.
Okay. Now remember, so many people are like, I don't want to lose card advantage. I'll just tap out and do something. Mm-hmm. That sometimes it's better just to lose the card advantage, discard that 8th card, and have your options.
So
now he has the 8th card, I think.
Yeah, he does. He does have 7 mana here. The thing about this matchup, though, is if he just taps down here and casts Chandra,
he's totally fine.
What does his opponent do?
Yeah,
there's nothing scary that the Blue-Red Delver deck does.
The biggest play he can do is Molten Steel Dragon. If he brought it in, and Timothy has answers.
Scalp Blast you.
Okay, I don't like...
I think I would have cast Chandra many turns ago myself.
I like casting Chandra there.
As soon as you can pay for Mana Leak, I think I cast Chandra. And Satchel.
Okay, now that's a real card here, and he's got mana available to pay for the Mana Leak. So it has to be dissipated or some other thing like that.
It looks like there's a Dissipate in Timothy's hand.
And we see Snapcaster. That seems a little aggressive.
I don't know about this.
I don't like. This seems like an opening that Kyle might be able to.
I would certainly Dissipate here.
I would.
Snapcaster. What's going on?
What just happened?
He just cast Snapcaster, Dissipate.
Okay, and now Mana Leak is going to counter the Dissipate, and Druidic Satchel is going to resolve.
He just Snapcastered nothing.
Wow. Okay.
And then,
the Galvanic Blast.
I'm at a loss for what just happened.
Okay,
maybe he thought there was a counter in his yard that he was going to Snapcaster, but even then, I think it's very important to use your Dissipate out of your hand there to avoid getting Mana Leak.
I mean, the thing about this Druidic Satchel is it can do a lot of work. Now, it has to overcome a Chandra, which can easily come down here.
Yeah.
But, Please cast the Chandra.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what Timothy's thinking here, because last turn, is he trying to get a clock on Kyle? I mean, if bare minimum, he could have cast Dissipate and then cast Snapcaster for the Gallop Blast.
Absolutely.
If you want to start going to town. So, Chandra goes to the face. Boom.
Now, Chandra is a very difficult card for Kyle to overcome.
It is brutal.
I mean, basically, right here, I mean, he better do it in the next 2 turns, or the game is so far away.
So right now, Kyle has, and Gutshot is being life paid?
2 life. Wow.
Ooh.
I guess
he's
seen
red.
the list.
Oh, Volley.
Brimstone Volley. That's excellent. That's totally fine.
Yep.
And now he's got the
mana
mana
to pay
open.
for Mana Leak. So, and yep, Chandra's dead.
Wow. And then now we've got a Druidic Satchel there.
Yeah, this is getting.
Oh boy, Timothy Jansen, I think, might have opened the door for Kyle, and Kyle might walk through it.
That Dissipate, and that Snapcaster shouldn't have even been in play.
No, not at all. Just cast the Dissipate, and you're good.
If he just dissipates there, then he has Snapcaster left back.
Taps out for Soren's Vengeance.
Tenyu. And this is
And
getting
it's
mana
gonna be countered. Nice try. Untap. Oh, good lord.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't.
That was just such a strange sequence of plays.
I think
do it
Timothy one at a time.
Right.
Cast the Dissipate, which you cast anyway. Let it resolve. Then, if you want to, you can snap cast it on the turn.
I don't know, what sort of Timothy's competitive background is.
I've got an idea of what might have happened.
Okay.
He's like, I'm going to cast Snapcaster to counter it. Looked, realized he couldn't counter
that was
Dissipate.
my initial thought, was that he thought he had a counter in his yard. So he went to play Snapcaster thinking he was going to counter out of his yard, which is reasonable.
Even if it was there, I still wouldn't have done it.
I agree with you. I think that the correct play would have been to Dissipate from hand regardless.
Okay, what do we get there? Is that
that is life.
Is that a Ravings?
Yep. So
Okay.
Desperate Ravings. So that's giving Kyle 2 life, which is getting him farther and farther out of range of Soren's Vengeance. This satchel plan in blue red is pretty interesting to me. It definitely gives the deck a much more threatening long game against control, which is something that the deck actually had some trouble with.
That's actually, remember, my critique was that this deck, I was all the iterations of it I'd seen, I was not actually seeing it beat prepared control decks, and we see a land come into play from the satchel there with Kyle. And I always feel like if you've got an aggro control deck, which this deck isn't quite, this is closer to a hybrid control deck, then it's just really rough if you can't beat a control deck. Strategically, that is the best archetype in history in terms of matchups.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we've got one thing I think that people don't do enough with Druidic Satchel is if you're hunting for a spell and you end of turn activate the Satchel and you don't need the mana particularly and you get a mana, immediately on your upkeep reactivate it, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to actually filter your draw a little bit with it.
It depends. I mean, it's definitely in a situation where you potentially might need your mana to pay for mana.
But if you need your mana, don't do it.
Right, but yeah.
But if you don't,
you definitely, it's worth considering what you're hoping to hit and what you're hoping to draw when you're using Druidic Satchels. So yeah, this game, I think Timothy was in pretty solid control and then allowed that Druidic Satchel to hit, and things have turned around for the worse.
I think he was just a little impatient about where he needed to be with this game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I really agree with you. I think that his issue there was actually just sort of thinking he had a card in his yard with Snapcaster that he didn't, and not recognizing how important that Druidic Satchel was.
Yeah.
And recognizing that he needed to use that Dissipate from hand to avoid losing the mana.
It's so innocuous. I mean, if you don't realize what it does.
I mean, this is a position now where Kyle can just sit here.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to do anything.
Yeah.
He can eventually make some Saprolings. He can just continue gaining life, putting a land into play. He's just in a very, very powerful situation where Timothy just doesn't have action. So that land right into play.
Right there. I mean, +1. Okay, upkeep, are you going to do it? Nope. Oh, well. I think it was Mike Flores quoting Sean McEwen. Sean McEwen calling Druidic Satchel Little Jace.
Okay. Interesting.
at the end of the turn, Kyle Zimmerman discards a Ravings. Because he's got so many cards in his hand.
Yeah.
He's just like, Ravings, whatever.
My hand is not only so good that I don't need to bother, but...
There it is, another land again. Come on, do it at the upkeep. What'd you get?
Oh, Ponder.
Let's see what you found.
Now you can set it for your satchel if you want. And I don't know what Timothy Jansen's plan here is. He's just sort of sitting here and not casting spells while Kyle is just continuing to generate advantage with his satchel.
And there's a Delver.
Any secrets?
And you know, he already knows what the secrets are.
Yep. He's keyed in on what the secrets are.
Doomblade at the end of the turn.
Kyle debating some sort of counter magic, but it goes away.
I mean, Kyle doesn't even care if that guy gets killed.
Yeah.
Like, right now, Kyle is both the beatdown and the control.
It is
which
a very
is
odd situation.
Not cool.
So Timothy...
Here we go. Here's the first
Olivia.
real
And
try. We're
there's
going
a
to see
psychic
the barrier.
Yep.
Take one. Ping, ping. I'll take one. I love Psychic Barrier, by the way. That card's awesome.
It's a very, very cool card. And it's a very powerful card.
Oh, yeah.
It's a card that really hasn't gotten too much respect, and I think is much more powerful now with Snapcaster Mage, a feature in control decks than it ever has been before.
Absolutely. Now we see a Ponder on top from this satchel. Kyle's life ticking up. Ponder from the main phase. Draw, draw, draw. Or I should say, look, look, look.
Yep.
Leaves it there. Draws a card. I see a Snapcaster in hand. I think I see a Desperate Ravings in hand. I mean, good lord. I would not want to be in Timothy Jansen's shoes.
Not at this point.
At the end of the turn, we're going to see a creature? Nope, just a land. And he knows what that card underneath it is. So, does he want... What is it? I cannot see. Discards another Desperate Ravings.
He is content to just sit here.
Sandbagging for another day. And it's too late. Too late to cast that thing twice. Slow down. Too late. Okay.
I mean, Timothy is really he's just trying to build up a hand, but what is he trying to build up to?
I mean, it's possible that he boarded in. Well, he's got Stencia Bloodhall. I mean, he could try to get to that point, but I mean, that's not going to erase the satchel.
Yeah, Bloodhall's a little awkward here too. I mean, he's been holding on to these Olivias. He waited to cast one. You know, now he's got another, but it's got to run into Snapcaster at this point. And you know, getting his Olivia Snapcaster.
And here you go, take two from a Galvanic
Shocking.
Blast.
Satchel's doing so much work here. It's putting Kyle in a position where he's gaining card advantage. He's
Zing.
He's ensuring that his draws are full of gas, and it's getting him out of range of any threat of burn.
Yes. I mean, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mana. I think I might have that wrong.
That's half the land in his deck. He has 22 land in his deck. It's half of it is in play.
Meanwhile, the ostensible control deck has roughly the same amount of mana, but like he is just nothing that he can play without worrying about marching into real problems. Okay, I'm going to ask the audience. How many of you in the audience think that... never mind.
What?
How many of you in the audience think that Kyle Zimmerman can lose this from here?
Oh, and we're seeing a surgical extraction. It gets misstepped. Interesting.
Mental misstep.
We had not thought that either surgical extraction or mental misstep would come in here. Though I imagine if Kyle does think that Timothy is bringing in extraction and he thinks that it's important, I can understand him bringing in misstep.
I mean, there are only 6 targets total for that misstep.
Between deck and sideboard.
Yeah, and that's if he brings in the extraction.
A bunch of extractions.
Olivia comes down. I think we're going to see a Snapcaster and well, it's being cast. I think we're going to see a Snapcaster into Psychic Barrier.
And Snappy Boy.
Does Snapcaster work? Are you going to dissipate this Snapcaster? It works. Psychic Barrier stops the Olivia. Are you going to try to counter that? How many cards do you have? A lot.
More than you.
How many mana do you have? A lot. He's like, hang on a second, slow down. Might want to stop this Snapcaster. Dissipate, or is that a Snapcaster? That's a Snapcaster of his own. Only 6 mana remaining for Timothy Jansen with that Snapcaster play.
And Kyle's has a fistful of action. Another
And from
a barrier
the hand to
from
barrier.
The hand, yeah.
And Timothy fighting this big fight on his own turn. He has a lot of cards in his hand, but I mean, this is still on his own turn, so.
But yeah, that Satchel sort of just grinding away here, giving Kyle such a huge advantage. It's like the Agent Smith in the Matrix.
Nice.
That is the sound of inevitability. I'm not really sure the sound is. It's just sort of this.
Look at Kyle, so
relaxed. He's like,
oh yeah, right, what you got, my friend? You know, the game is kind of interesting out there when people are like, yeah, I don't know what people are doing, but. And we show Snapcaster does not resolve. The Snapcaster of Timothy Jansen does not resolve. No, maybe it does. Still thinking about this.
So
Okay, Snapcaster is countered for Timothy Jansen, so now we're...
This is actually officially our final quarterfinal match going. We actually had 2 2-0 sweeps. Ryan Waller defeated Marcus Handy 2-0 in the White Weenie Mirror. And then Pat McGregor also won 2-0 against Alex Bertoncini, leaving White Weenie Blue, Illusions, and the final deck to make it into the semifinals. Well, final of these is Dennis Doughty with Mono Red defeating Mike Hawthorne 2-1.
I think that if you are an Illusions deck, red is your nightmare matchup, and if you aren't super prepared for it, then something's a little off. We have the continuation of this long control war, and in the end of it, a mana leak looks like is going to stop the Olivia...
One would generally not suspect Mana Leak to be a major player at this point in the game, but these fights can get mana intensive.
You know, I used to sideboard out mana leaks when I was playing against control decks, but in the end, I came to learn that the game goes to a point where some huge play happens.
Yeah, there is a big fight that goes on that Mana Leak can often win.
Now, if you remember, Kyle Zimmerman has at least 2, maybe 3 Desperate Ravings in the yard, so even though they've both depleted their hands very heavily over this fight, he can just restock.
To reload. I mean, he also has that satchel ensuring that everything he's drawing is solid action. You know, they're land right into play. Not going to have to worry about drawing that.
Now look at this board.
Olivia did resolve.
It all resolves. So now this is actually a big moment for Timothy. Like, there were so many things on the stack there because there was a kind of a take-back-see moment with Timothy Jansen. So yeah, he wins that fight, but will it matter? Because Kyle Zimmerman has a mitt full of cards.
I actually don't even know everything that happened there. There was like a barrier on a Snapcaster, then another barrier.
Well, one of the things that was difficult was that with Timothy, he kept tapping and untapping his lands, and then we have part of his graveyard off of the screen, so we can't quite see what was flashed back. But I still think that Timothy, unless Kyle is out of everything, I think that he's just fine right now. We see the gut shot killing Snapcaster.
Probably gut shot and
Here come the 2 Snapcasters in at Olivia, and I think Timothy is correct in just taking it.
Oh, of course. So,
now we're going to see perhaps a Snapcaster on Incinerate? Or is Olivia going to live? Brimstone Volley. There we are.
Okay.
Brimstone Volley finishing off the 3-3 Olivia.
So yeah, Kyle wanted to give Timothy the opportunity to
let him have a gut shot.
Let him keep the volley and kill it with a gut shot, which makes sense.
And if you look at that, he tapped down quite a few mana there, but he still has out
so
7
much
untapped mana.
Thank you, Satchel.
Untapped for Timothy Jansen, who's down to 3 cards.
The all-purpose handbag.
And he says go.
So not only does Kyle Zimmerman have a huge advantage with that Satchel, he has the creatures in play.
And now he has the upkeep Satchel action.
Yep.
Draw.
And he has Ravings in his yard.
Good lord.
Wow.
in for 4, and I see some end-of-your-turn style itis from Timothy Jansen, as in just waiting for a while. Doomblade.
Yeah, if those are going to die, kill them right away.
2 Snapcasters down, but I don't know how much Kyle cares. He's got inevitability still.
Oh.
Chandra the Firebrand he cares about.
Yeah, that one's getting negated. We just saw that come off the top of the deck. If I'm Timothy Jansen, I think I actually may have held that. That's a very important card for him.
Yeah.
I don't really see how he's going to win with his Olivia's gone and I think both Chandra's gone.
He's got Desperate Ravings from the yard. First time that he's cast that this match. He discarded them earlier. His hand was so full and he had no time to cast it. And now he's got 4 cards that 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see what happens. And the card that goes away is a mountain, which is
did not need that.
Yeah. What a gift. This is still at the end of the turn. He might do it again. He decides just to untap. Never mind. I like these cards in my hand.
They're fine. I'm good. No worry. Don't worry about me.
Upkeep. Ooh. Phoenix.
And there's a Sapperling.
Sapperling.
So Phoenix is a serious customer right now. Timothy's deck is not well set up to actually deal with Phoenix. He has
Surgical Extraction, which is
we
where
saw.
the misstep fight might have
and
started.
Another Phoenix.
Double Phoenix.
Uh-oh. Things are getting serious.
It's getting real.
It's getting serious up in
Oh,
here.
boy.
And
is that another Chandra?
I'm not sure. I thought we'd seen one die earlier and then the one just now get countered. I thought he only
you
had
could be
access
correct.
to 2.
He only has 2 Chandra's Phoenix, or Chandra's Firebrand. And end of the turn, there we go.
Boom.
Sapperling and
5
2
damage.
Come on in.
Yeah, I can't really think of what Timothy Jansen might be able to assemble
Now,
here.
think about the turn where this all fell apart.
It was
Kyle
very
Zimmerman,
innocuous. It was
6 mana, cast the Druidic Satchel, and I think Timothy Jansen, that's where the door closed for him. Or should say, he opened up the door, and Kyle went through it.
And
there's the third one.
Boom.
We got
And that's
7.
it.
Boom.
So, wow. Kyle Zimmerman on the back of Druidic Satchel and quite a few Chandra's Phoenixes, ultimately, takes the match 2-0.
I wouldn't have expected this result looking at these decks at the beginning of the match.
Nor looking at how game 2 started. Kyle Zimmerman took game 1 quite handily with on the back of a Delver of Secrets, but game 2 looked to be in Timothy Jansen's grasp, but things just slipped away.
Well, one of the things, not only do we have the winner here, Kyle Zimmerman,